Hello, listeners, and welcome to the second season of the Adapt podcast, the podcast about how society adapts to the world's growing challenges. My name is Harish Murugesan, and I am a present freshman here at The Ohio State University with a major in computer science and engineering. Now, today I have the honor to be joined by Mr. Eoid Everard. Mr. Everard is a skilled physiotherapist with a Ph.D. specializing in human movements. Mr. Everard has completed more than 2,000 movement assessments on many elite level athletes over the years. And as an avid athlete himself and therapist, Mr. Everard has competed in multiple races with also many wins. In specifics, his skills extend to almost sub 4-minute miles, sub 14-minute 5Ks, and 5 national championships. Mr. Everard has a master's in physiotherapy at Northumbria and a Ph.D. from the University of Limerick. After working as a professional therapist at his own company, Everard Physiotherapy, Mr. Everard is now the founder of BackAware Belt, a smart belt that assists lifting and other gym activities. So thank you, Mr. Everard, for joining me here today.
Harish, thanks so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and likewise as well. Exciting to get a deep look into BackAware Belt today. So yeah, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks.
Now, firstly, one of the biggest questions I like to ask a lot of my guests first off is, what were some of the steps that took you to where you are today? And essentially, what is your story and process to not only your many physical achievements, but, as a business standpoint, how did you get here?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the introduction. I won't really repeat too much, but basically I was a very good runner. So I would be in contact with physical therapists or physiotherapists, as we call them here. So I thought that might be a nice profession. And when I was training or early on in my career, I came across people who this idea of movement, the idea of like not just focusing on the knee or the back to fix that issue, but looking at the whole body and how we move. So like a problem with the knee or the back could actually be caused by the hip or the upper back. So that put me down that road of assessing movements. And instead I got my PhD in biomechanics or human movement. And then I'd give my patients exercises to do. And sometimes they'd come back and they'd be doing them completely incorrectly. They'd nearly be hurting themselves more in the way they were doing the exercises that I'd given them. And I always felt then that, God, if they could see or feel what I would see or feel doing those exercises, they never would do them like that. And then that was the idea for the BackAware Belt, and I had the idea for like 10 years before I eventually went to go for it. So that's kind of how I started physio, and then how I went towards trying to develop the BackAware Belt as a technology to help people be more aware of their movement.
Wow, I think that's in a somewhat business sense and I guess spiritual sense, it's a very motivating story, because not only do many people, I think in these modern days, many people often kind of dismiss the need for exercise. And I feel like by doing it more properly, instead of, quality over quantity, really makes a big difference. And I think I can appreciate a lot of what BackAware will do in the future to not only many clients, but, everyday athletes who realize the importance of, doing whatever exercise they're doing to, the highest quality. And, especially I think as a cross country runner myself back in high school.
Brilliant, yes.
Definitely not as fast as you, I will admit. But I remember a lot of times our coaches would kind of stress how important it was to stretch properly and get that full range of motion in your muscles. So I can definitely relate to that, and I find it really motivating. So
Brilliant.
I think thank you again for making something like a wear belt.
Yeah, thank you. So like that's exactly why I made it. I'd have my own patients. I'd also see people in the gym and they're doing the hard work. They're going to the gym, and just because they're not aware of their position, they're doing exercises completely incorrectly. And that has two kind of big focuses. One, it increases their chance of injury. Say if you're doing a deadlift or a squat and you're moving through your back rather than moving through your hips, well, you're not working the core because you're kind of moving more at the back muscles. And then you're not working those glutes or leg muscles because, again, you're moving at the back. So you have this increased chance of injury at your back, and you're actually not getting the results with the muscle activation that you should. So that was the kind of the key premise behind it. It's like, if people can be doing things correctly, one, they then have less chance of injury because they're keeping themselves in the correct position. So they're kind of distributing the pressure better. And then secondly, they're working the muscles they intend to work with the exercises that they're doing.
Got it. So, you mentioned how doing a lot of these exercises in correct and good form prevents future injuries and properly working the muscle. So, would you say that using something like the BackAware Belt is a good balance between essentially preventing injuries and working out the most optimal muscle, or would you say it skews toward one or the other?
No, I think one hand washes the other there. Like, so by doing one thing, you're helping with the other. So just to explain for people what the BackAware Belt is, it's basically a belt, a very lightweight belt that you wear that gives you feedback on your back position. So instant feedback. So as you say if you're doing a squat or a deadlift, if you start to move at your back, it will start to vibrate. And also on the screen, so we have in our app, like videos that you can play, and on your screen, you can see your back position. So again, say if you're doing a plank and you start to like dip in the middle, you see a lot of people doing planks or press ups, their core kind of drops. So as that starts to drop and the core is not being worked, it will start vibrating on the belt, and you will see the sensor ball will go into the red to indicate that you're now not in a good position. So then if you lift back up through your stomach, the sensor ball will go back into the kind of green area and the belt will stop vibrating. So it's that feedback. The idea being it's like kind of having your own personal trainer or physio with you at all times, something to just give you that feedback. With that, like say in that example of the plank, if you're arching at your back, you're really just kind of overloading the back muscles. So you're not working the core, which your physio or your physical therapist could have given you as an exercise. So you're not working those muscles. So in terms of fitness, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And then in terms of injury prevention, you're working the wrong joints. You're kind of overextending at the back joints rather than really working the core. So like the great thing about this is it isn't like you have to do injury prevention work and then you have to do fitness or works to improve your aesthetics or looks. They both kind of work hand in hand.
Okay, that's beautiful actually. I think that's important to I think you mentioned like these sensors and the feedback and having the ability to essentially just have uh an item work as kind of a replacement for some person that you know it can be more accessible in some senses, right? You mentioned how having a BackAware belt is kind of like having a physiotherapist, but in the form of a belt. It's assisting you in every way. So,
Well, obviously we would all love a personal trainer or a physio with us like 24/7 for every exercise class, and that would be the best thing, but they're very expensive. So this is a kind of a much cheaper alternative.
Yeah. So, what can you tell us about kind of the overall structure of the BackAware belt and many of its different features? Because I know it has, I'm pretty sure it has a technological app that goes with it, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the belt itself is, as I said, very lightweight. It has a sensor along the spine that kind of will detect your position in real time. And that's different to a lot of other technologies, which might have like you'll know like IMU, so like kind of sensors that essentially like would tell your position in space, like inertial sensors. So that those sensors can only be used in standing. So the ones you'll see usually are like upright go have them, like they're kind of posture ones that you put on your neck that allow you to sit up or like stand up straight, and they're great, but you can't use them for various types of exercise. So that's the main thing with our one, is you can use it for any exercise, like glute bridging, planking, like deadlifting, squatting, whatever else. Plus you can use it as the posture device. In the app then, we have several different kind of features. You have a camera inside so you can see yourself. We also have, like, as you play the exercise videos, be it Pilates or injury rehabilitation videos or gym videos, you have a sensor. Your back position is seen on the bottom right-hand corner. So you can visually see your back position as you're doing the exercises. So it just gives you another little more interactive dimension when you're doing your exercises. Yeah, they're the main ones we have. I know we're going to talk about AI and stuff in the future. We have some really good features coming in the future, but they're the ones we have currently.
Yeah, exciting. Future AI is definitely the biggest like assist, I'd say, in both app sense and software side. It's definitely going to be the future in that sense, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And going back to one thing you said earlier on the BackAware Belt, essentially, as clients are using the BackAware Belt and doing different exercises, how they can see their back moving in real time. So I was curious as to does the BackAware Belt promote overall, like, life throughout the life better posture, or would you say that the BackAware Belt only assists for better posture during exercise only, or would you say it gives users overall more better posture in daily habits?
Yeah, you can use it both ways. So I generally like think about using it just during exercise. Like, I'm actually not, like, your standing posture isn't your static posture, like what you would just stand with, isn't actually that much of an issue. Where the issue comes is where you can never get out of those positions. Okay, so like I stand, I have a slight like kyphosis, but when I want, I can like move out of that position. So when I'm doing exercises, if things are getting sore, I can just move out of those positions. So I tend to think that like trying to fix your posture, like always be super rigid, isn't a great idea. But the better idea is having a movement capacity that allows you to move through ranges. So say when you want to exercise or you want to lift, your body has the building blocks, I call them, to do the exercise or do the movement correctly. So we've seen in the past where if you have poor technique for some exercises or for lifting or whatever, that can increase your chance of injury. But just having, like, say, an anterior pelvic tilt when you stand isn't a big issue. If you can never get out of that position, well, then that becomes an issue. So you could use it. People use the BackAware Belt at their desk or just during the day to try, just give them reminders of, don't be bending here, or, remember your good technique with that. But I tend to use it more for the exercise side. So you could use it for both, and it's more whatever your preference is.
Totally understand. Looking back to some of the uses of the BackAware Belt. Now, you yourself are a very avid runner, I think, as we could see. Your many incredible feats in running. Would you recommend BackAware for high intensive physical, you know, movement activities like running, or would you recommend only for kind of static exercises like lifting, plank,
Core work, yeah.
things like that? Yeah.
Yeah, like generally I find, again, from a kind of movement perspective or a physical therapy perspective, well, again, I like these ideas of building blocks. So essentially what we should have is like good mobility. Like you said, we need to be your coach was right when he was saying to do your stretches. So you need to have a good range of motion. Then the second thing you need is stability or activation. You need to be able to like activate the core or switch on the glutes. We hear about these, like, the gluteal amnesia, like the glute can't really fire or the core is not firing correctly. And then the last thing we need is like what we call motor control. And motor control is like learning the technique. And I would start with like simple enough exercises, like you've done your activations of your core, then doing like ones in standing that start like allowing you to move in a way that you'll use in running or whatever your activity is. Now, I'd use the BackAware Belt for all of those, and it can be really effective. As I said, for core exercises, a lot of people are doing these exercises completely wrong. So they think they're working certain muscles that they are not working at all. And then same with these exercises in standing, single leg deadlift, squats, bridges. Again, they are moving. They're not doing those with correct technique. You can then move on to drills. Now, where I'd say with the BackAware Belt, I wouldn't use it running then, because what you want to do is if you have those building blocks and you have a good mobility, you are able to activate the muscles, you have good motor control, the subconscious part of our brain is so much more powerful than the conscious part. So when I hear people of like run on your toes or change this, it's like that's too much processing. What we do is give our body the building blocks and then it will figure it out. It's like if we give a child a load of Lego, it's like, okay, they need to have the Lego blocks, but what they make after that is kind of up to them. And it's like, it will work out what it needs to do. So my idea is give our body the ability to do things and then let them out for their own things when we're doing like the higher end, faster stuff like sprinting or running.
Would you say that, because you mentioned kind of the building blocks, would you say that the BackAware Belt kind of bridges, I guess you could say, the gaps between a kind of mind and body perspective?
That's exactly what it does. Because people think when you see it as a belt, a lot of times the hardest thing for us to get over is, it's a support belt. And it's like, it's not a support belt. It's a proprioceptive device. It's a biofeedback device. What it's doing is it can be used for the more basic exercises like your stability to get used to holding your core. But then it's like what you want the person to do is work out for themselves what way they need to move. So if someone's constantly like, if it's vibrating or it's telling you, no, that's not right. Yes, that's right. No, that's not right. Yes, that's right. It's giving you inputs and it's allowing you to develop these good movement bases yourself. So that's why it's called it gets you, your awareness is a big part. Like you need first to be, it's that sensing to be, in order to change a thing, you first need to be aware that you're making a problem. And a lot of times I see in the gym, people are moving. It's like they're not even aware they're doing it incorrectly. So the first point is you need to know, like, no, you're just moving at your back. You're not like hinging at your hips. And then it's working with that, using the belt with that person to then develop those correct movement patterns that help take pressure off the spine, that help get them using their glutes more, etc.
Actually, using one of your previous analogies about kind of like the Lego building blocks, it's almost as if like when we're doing an exercise, we might have one faulty brick being maybe, our hips are a little off or our footing's a little off, and that one brick is just gonna ruin, or not ruin in a sense, but essentially give a lower quality end result, or in this case, a lower quality, proper workout. So I think that's really important, getting the small things down to build up to like a big high quality like exercise.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like we see that so many times. If people are like, say, tight through their hips, because they physically can't move through their hips, then they can have to move excessively through their back or they bend in at their knee. And that was the first kind of revelation for me, was like, well, we need to open up what we're looking at. If we just focused at the back where the pain is, for example, we're going to miss the actual cause of it. To use another analogy, sometimes it's like there's water on the ground and we just keep mopping it up, but we're missing the hole in the ceiling.
Yeah, I think that beautifully ties together everything that the BackAware Belt kind of stands for. I think that's very beautiful. Yeah. Um, Going back to kind of the BackAware Belt and a lot of its clients slash patients and many people that will use the BackAware Belt. I'm definitely sure you've gotten a lot of positive feedback from, avid athletes, exercising people. So what was the story or experience that kind of impacted you the most and gave you that most fulfilling sense of fulfillment from this product?
Yeah, we've had really good success stories. So yeah, we have a lot of people who they run the use. A lot of runners don't like doing the gym, for example. So we do have a lot of people who do Pilates and want to make sure they're doing their exercises correctly. A lot of mothers who would love to get to a personal trainer, but they could have to work out at home, and then they like that interaction, that feedback to know they're doing things correctly. I think the main ones would be preventing surgery. So from the other side, from the elite runners or the people for fitness, it's like we've had a few people who they've literally just been told by a surgeon they're going to have surgery on their back, and they've had to have surgery on their back, and we've just used the BackAware Belt, looked at the way they were moving. They were just sitting loads. They were then rounding through their back, and we've been able to help them, one, prevent surgery, but then build them back up to a level where they're kind of fitter than they've ever been. Their back used to go into spasm. Like the lady I'm thinking about, she was going to go for surgery. She had to miss one of her best friend's weddings because her back went into spasm the day of the wedding. And she literally barely could get out of bed. And we've taken from that all the way through to where she's just doing Pilates now for general fitness. She can be thinking about all the sports and different fitness activities she wants to do, as opposed to being crippled with back pain. We also had a guy who was a very elite sports person, but constantly was getting hamstring issues. He had 2 years of hamstring issues. And one thing we talk about at the pelvis, there's this thing called anterior pelvic tilt. It's where the pelvis tilts up, but it puts this massive stretch on the hamstring. So he was just constantly trying to strengthen the hamstring. And by using the BackAware Belt, we were able to get that awareness because he was just stuck in that anterior pelvic tilt, and getting him to be aware during the hamstring exercises he was given, and then progressing forward. He's now back say 2 years, and he's able to enjoy his career again. And that was looking like it was completely over. So there are a few of the stories that keep you going when it gets difficult.
Yeah, definitely. It's very heartwarming, I think, tales. And that's almost a similar theme of what I've noticed throughout a lot of the episodes here at Adapt is we have a lot of, I think, innovators just like you who are able to find a problem and make a product for it. But one of the necessary things that we as citizens or clients or customers don't look at when looking at these products is kind of how positively it impacts people's lives. Like, in a sense, a customer like me might buy a BackAware Belt just to assist my personal, exercise, but we don't think about a lot of the people who need it in their day-to-day basis, or, like the woman you stated earlier about needing it to get out of bed, and now they're doing Pilates training every day. Is that sort of life-changing product that I think makes a lot of the products here on Adapt very special, and make a lot of innovators like you have a greater impact on society. So I guess thank you on behalf of, I think, a lot of people who don't understand or, underrate the sort of impact that products like this can create.
Yeah, thank you, Arash. That's one thing. Harshay, that like I would like it is hard, when you're taking this from just a concept to actually having developed it, you get so many kind of highs and lows. But remembering those highs, and it's like, God, this didn't exist before we started. It does keep you going. And then you see the positive stories from people, and it's just brilliant. It keeps you going because there are like a lot of highs and lows, to be fair, when you're making a product.
Yeah, definitely. Very inspiring, for sure. As we start to run out of time, however, I did want to close out with two or three questions.
Yeah, fire ahead.
My first one being, the BackAware belt you said was, can be used in a lot of gym settings. So are there any future plans to kind of implement this into everyday gyms?
Yeah, like to be fair, what we're looking at, we were focusing on getting the product as good as possible, and then we have to look at product market fit. There's a different ways we can use it, like with technology that's in. I'll probably start some live classes using the BackAware belt, so as a novel piece of equipment. I think it'd be used there, and I'd love to see it implemented in gyms, that people put these on instead of even their back belts. We're developing like a back support that I talked about. So a back support, but there's technology in it to make sure that not only is that supporting your back, but you're also aware you're not like having to use the belt as much because you're trying to keep good technique as you do your exercise.
For, power lifters, squatters.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
And then like just having it for, as you said, people doing really dialing in that awareness, making sure that they're getting the benefits out of every exercise, that they're not slip. At the end you might have poor technique, that this is just keeping you concentrated on your technique.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're on the edge of going to failure, you start, contracting different muscles to try and get that last rep in, it's a little rough. Yeah. So often during the closing times of an episode, one of my favorite questions personally, and one of the most consistent questions throughout each episode is, I like to ask all my guests, what in your opinion is the next frontier of orientation? And currently I know we're in a frontier of, a lot of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and a lot of these different things are, kind of the big innovations and kind of like powerhouse right now to bring new products to the market. So what, in your opinion, do you think is the next frontier past AI and AR?
Well, like from my background, I just stick on what we're looking at. I definitely think for the BackAware belt for AR, like in a virtual reality sense, this could be, there's two places I see it big time. When I think of a personal trainer or a physio, I think of three things that you're going to them for. You're going because you want to know what to do, like what you should do. You want them to know if you're doing it correctly. So that's where feedback, and then you want accountability. And I think with AI, we're already using myself and some assistants to, when people are on our plans, to give feedback, to make sure to try follow up and try come up with a really good way of like that they have accountability in what they're doing. And they feel like it's a very personalized plan. And then you have the feedback that's giving you that personalized feedback. And I feel like with AI, that's only going to get better and better, that we can be really giving that personalized approach to each person and a lot cheaper rate, because you're going to have an AI to kind of support you with the growing numbers. Secondly, I think when AR gets better, again, then to have like that pure biofeedback of like, this is how your back is actually moving, and you can have like the actual suit, so you can see, like I'm moving. So rather than just a sensor, it'll be the actual person in there. Yeah, great. Can we just quickly go through again? If you have to go now, I totally understand.
Oh, no. I just didn't want to take up too much of your time.
No, I have. So I might just flick through. So you sent on some really good questions. So I'll just answer these as like bullet points, or like really quickly if you want.
Yeah. Happy to do that. I just didn't want to,
No,
going
I have,
to
I have
other,
another like
yeah. I'd be
10
happy
minutes.
to learn more. Yeah.
So I thought ones that you had that were great. We've kind of answered things about the BackAware Belt. You asked like what other stories of people or personal experience that inspired you. I love listening to podcasts like this. I love, Acquired, how I built this, because you hear about the struggles and then it came true. And I think it's important to know there's a lot of dips. Running, and that if you were a cross country runner, it's persistence. If you can just keep going, eventually it starts to go right. So I think it's not even one particular story. It's just hearing these. You see what people are doing. Um,
Yeah,
and
totally.
the conditions that the BackAware belts look to help. The main two were people with back pain, and then people who want confidence that they're doing things correctly on their own. So that idea of replacing the physiotherapist or personal trainer. What were some of the struggles you faced in actualizing the BackAware belt? The main ones was the budget and people. You, especially if people are coming out of college, Harshay, like yourself, one of the key things for when I'm looking for technical people is they have to have a very good understanding of what the technology is looking to do. The best technical people I've found are very good technically, as like say a computer engineer or an app developer, but they also conceptually get the idea. And that was hard because I've had to change app developers 3 times. Engineers were on a third iteration as well, because they might be good enough technically, but they wouldn't test the product the way I would test it. They wouldn't move through. And I know you don't have to be sporty for that, or you don't have to be musical, or whatever way the technology is used. But I really would like, I think technical people could really benefit from like actually really just like, I'll be a user, even though I'm not into this like forces that like I need to be a user, because you'll then see the pain points. Similarly, then for a founder who's non-technical like I am, you should have more confidence in yourself, because if you live and breathe this product like I did, for the first while with it, I was very like hands off. I was looking after more like what I wanted the product to do and the marketing and the spokesperson side, but I was leaving the technical stuff. And I actually was able to fix some of the issues just from knowing exactly, learning how the technology worked and then applying it to what they were doing. So that was some of the key issues that I'm like, no, it has to do this because this is what it's needed to do. And the way you're trying to solve that mightn't be correct. So I mightn't know exactly how to write it, but I was able to help them with it. Needs, say the belts need to calibrate in this way, or we need this setup process.
Yeah. You can help, in a sense, I guess, visualize it better for
visualize it better, and get everybody on board of like, this is exactly what it needs to do, like technically with the person, because they can be like, okay, well, we need a belt that does bends and extends. But for example, like for a back pain, how your back isn't standing is completely different how it is in all fours. And that's a thing we have a patent on now. But the first guys they didn't understand that because they never put the belt on. They were bent also, like say when they were using it to check the sensors, they bend the sensors loads. And it's like your back doesn't bend that much. And it doesn't bend, it doesn't hinge in the middle, it curls. So even like how to bend it, if you're using your fingers, you'd have to put the sensor through here and like bend it like that and bend it like that. You wouldn't fold it in the middle. So stuff like that, like getting them on board. So for a founder, if you're non-technical, don't get like, you have confidence that you still have a lot of stuff to fix. If you're on the technical side of things, or even from a founder's perspective, get your technical team, they should be using this belt, like, or they should be using your product. Even if they don't want to, even if it's not practical, if they use it, it will help them in their technical elements. And then keep going. If you don't find the right person or you get like a bad feeling, make sure that it's hard, but you just need to think of it like a sports team. You just need you could have
as possible player on your team.
Yeah, right? You could have a wide receiver, and it's so obvious that you're like, look, he's good, but he's not great. You just need to be like the way those teams just constantly like are looking for the best players.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Most unique tech, I'll the calibration, there's a lot of features that are unique. You have like 10 different patents. Origin idea we went through. Is there any competition for the BackAware belt at the moment? And if so, what puts BackAware apart? There's a lot of competition. Like obviously from your very high end like Pelotons and like YouTube fitness classes to kind of posture correctors. Our one is unique in that it calibrates to your back position, so you can use it in for any lift or any exercise. Can you elaborate on software aspects of developing an app in the BackAware? I've kind of gone into that with the other one. Just work with your software engineers that they should know it. And a really good thing for a software engineer to do is when you're working on a product, use it. Even if like I have no interest in fitness or whatever, like just go through the process. It makes it so much clearer what the technology has to have. For founders, non-technical founders like myself, I put stuff on a 5-year roadmap that I was like, I would love to do this. And we've nearly achieved all of those things, because if you are clear, the level of engineers and app developers out there now is so high. They're really good. They just need to be given clear instruction. Also for non-technical founders, for app developers, make sure you're aware of Figma, get a graphic designer. Because don't try double job, where like app developers love if it's all mapped out correctly first, then they can apply the technical side. Initially, I was
first.
I spent a lot of time where you're dealing with someone who's very good technically, but then the front end didn't look that good. Where I was able to pay a graphic designer who's not good technically, but was able to make it lovely looking in Figma as of what all the pages should look, how it should flow, and that works so much better. That everybody's working to their skill set. So that's something I'd make sure. We talked about the everyday plans. It can be used for leisure use, athletic, or both, as we said. Our future fields that the BackAware is looking into. We're doing more on corporate health, going in with in like Hinge Health and Sword Health will be also competitors, where doing digital musculoskeletal. So giving people the technology and the physio, like, you know, online, and letting them see how that works for like corporates to hopefully reduce their kind of insurance costs. What advice could you give to those who want to start a startup? Persistence is massive. You'll just have so many things go wrong. A lot of like, if you trust your gut, if you think that someone's not good enough after, like, because it's hard on interviews to know who's doing well or are they actually good. I found that like soon enough I've known like, look, they're, for whatever reason, they're just not getting this or on having issues. Try to move on quickly. And even though it's very frustrating, it'll save you a lot of time in the long run. The people that you get can be absolutely massive. Like my app developers are brilliant. They are so good. And I just try go through my head of like, okay, who's like out of 10 and I can't use 7, where are these people? So my app developers are 10 out of 10. Like my industrial designer now, like realistically, she interviewed so well, but I think they're going to be like a 6 or a 5. So it could be like, look, we're going to have to try change this. Even though it's painful, it's like, you got to just constantly look at your, like a team. That's the way I do it. Look at a team and see who's doing well. And that goes to your, you know, who's over the admin assistant, because you're all there trying to grow towards the goal. So persistence, and just be objective about your team. And I think that would really help.
I guess that kind of goes along with like that same employee that might have done well during an interview, if they don't do good in like the practical sense and connect with the company, then I think it's clear to say that, or just the analysis on my end is, you know, there's definitely other companies out there that she will definitely connect with more. And I think those
100%.
You know, yeah.
And I'm not saying straight away, but it's like, if you've given the instruction, because sometimes the instruction just might not be clear. But if there's a load of like falls, or they're shipping work that you're like, this standard is so low. Like, so just like that, sometimes we can kind of get stuck with inertia. And I think it's important to, initially, like obviously then I've had the app developer has been here 4 years. I've had my main assistants have been here 4 or 5 years. So when you get the good people, you have to do everything you can to keep them and praise them. I praise my people like so much because they're so class. But early on, I've had it before where like people developing websites and the first round is just like so terrible. But you're like, look, okay, I'll give you feedback, and then give the feedback. And really, if I had been like, there's a great line of knowing what I know now, would I have hired this person? And yet, if the answer is no, I wouldn't after 1 or 2 or 3 iterations, if it's early, you're just better off, swallowing the cost and saying like, listen, I don't think it's going to work, and can we move on? Also, I always try with startups, get like fixed fees for something, so at least you know what the damage is. Because if it goes on hourly contracts, things can go wrong. So you want to kind of protect your back end. Harshay, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I gotta go now, but I really appreciate that interview and reaching out and your kind words.
Thank you so much, Mr. Everard, for joining me today. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
And thank you, viewers, for watching today's episode of Adapt Season 2.